Good morning, it's Maryon, and as promised, I'm here to share a few more of my thoughts with you. I think the last few weeks have probably been a really interesting and eye-opening experience for all of us, obviously from different perspectives. From your perspective, I would imagine a lot of you have been feeling really isolated and feeling like you're suffering on your own. But now obviously you've come to the group and you can see that people are sharing their stories so incredibly honestly and freely, and the amount of suffering that's going on is just unbelievable. I mean, I've said before that I've been seeing patients for years and years. I usually see them one by one, and even though I get through a fair amount of people in a day, it doesn't amount to anything like seeing this constant just a whole range of different stories that are equally distressing to you and to your families. And I think that from where I'm sitting, just seeing what's going on and seeing how much these symptoms are disrupting your lives, to the point where I can see that life for many of you feels like it isn't worth living. And I've actually been in this position before. It made me realise that when I first set up the advisory service in the 80s, I was married to a doctor at the time, and he and 3 other doctors were setting up something called the British Society for Nutritional Medicine. And I just had our second baby, and I was at home with 2 babies under 2. They didn't think I had much to do, so they gave me 10,000 medical papers to sort into conditions. And when I did that, I found 200 on premenstrual syndrome, and they were all on the natural approach to PMS. And so I basically put a program together for my husband's clinic at the time, and that got known about by the media over the following few months. And we then got to a point where we were receiving a minimum of 600 and something letters a day. And some days when we'd had big publicity in the Daily Mail or the Express or whatever, we would have post bags of in excess of 2,000. And these would be women who were just pouring their hearts out about how PMS was ruining their lives. So we quickly got our act together. I created a team, and the advisory service was born, and we started helping women with PMS. And then over the years, I mean, we were helping people who were suicidal, violent, aggressive, who really, I mean, a lot of them had actually attempted suicide, but they felt that they were Jekyll and Hyde, that they were a shadow of their former selves. So I suppose here I am all these years later, and in those days there was nothing really for women with PMS except a prescription for antidepressants or a waiting list of about 6 months to go to a family planning clinic in those days. And here I am all these years later in what I feel is a relatively similar situation, because suddenly I've kind of put up my plaque, if you like, saying midlife switch, come this way to get enlightened. And so many of you have, but come in a way that I didn't expect. First of all, I think there are many more of you at perimenopause who are going through the most horrendous symptoms than I imagined. And the menopause, and asking questions about, well, how long does this go on? Well, actually, it can be indefinite, because you're never going to get your nutrient levels into an optimum range if you don't know how to do it. And that's going to affect your brain chemistry and your hormone function. And you're never going to have circulating estrogen again once you've passed the menopause, because the ovaries stop functioning. So we need to actually get you back into good nutritional shape. We need to teach you how to include naturally occurring estrogen into your regime so you can fool the brain into thinking you've got normal circulating estrogen again. The difficulty from my perspective is that I've only, although I have dealt with some groups, for the most part I've dealt with patients on a one-to-one, and obviously I have to cover the cost of my time, and I have to cover the cost of the back end of whatever I'm working on. So what I'm looking at the moment is how I can take large numbers of you through the program that I've developed over these years that's been so successful. We've found that well over 90% of the women are symptom-free within 5 months for menopause. and it's even higher for PMS. So we're really good at helping people to overcome their symptoms. And not just that, but to get themselves back to where they want to be or even better, so that you're symptom-free, you've got knowledge, you know how to look after yourself in the long term, and you can prevent things like heart disease, osteoporosis, the bone thinning disease, dementia, all those things that we're much more likely to get when we haven't got circulating estrogen. But when you're armed with the tools, and now we've been blessed, so many of us, with these extra years, we may as well keep ourselves in really good shape so that we can enjoy those years and love ourselves as well as love having the time with our family and our partners and so on. So what I'm thinking, and obviously I've got to talk to my team because they're on holiday at the moment over the time and it's going to take us a little while to set up, but I'm thinking that I'll be able to offer two things. One is a self-help program for women, which I'm thinking maybe I can take people through the self-help, and they'd have to obviously manage themselves, but I can give them all the tools and all the information and point them to all sorts of things about diet and supplements and exercise and everything you need to know to get your symptoms under control on a self-help basis. And then obviously I'm looking at my one-to-one program, which is pretty intense, where I work with people on a one-to-one basis. And I've only got so many hours in the week, and I like to fill my time with a variety of things, so I'm not seeing patients all the time on a one-to-one. But what I'm looking at is maybe I can take a group, and I've done this before over the phone, but I can do this with video now because we've got different tools. So I could maybe take a group of maybe 20 or 30 people, I'm just thinking about it at the moment, and how I can personalize your program. So instead of self-help, you're getting a tailor-made program, and then I can take you through it in a group over time, over 5 months, to actually get you from where you are now to being symptom-free and on a maintenance program. So those are the things I'm thinking of. Obviously there'll be the new book in the new year as well, which I'll be able to share. I'm hoping that the first chapters will be with us at the beginning of the new year, and then hopefully the rest will be with us towards the end of January. So I can look at using the book as a tool as well, and there are all sorts of other things. So the main thing is, I know I haven't finished this in my head yet, and then I've got to make it happen in the real world because there are all sorts of things that have to be in place in order for me to do that in the first place. But I know I can get those in place, and I just wanted you to know that you are in my thoughts, you are in my mind. I can't stand the fact that you're suffering and that you don't need to be. There are tools out there, and it's not too difficult for me to take you through it. And so you can be a group in either a self-help way, or you can be a group in a more hands-on way for me, depending on what you choose. So I'm going to work on developing those offerings in the first few days of the new year. I will come back to you as soon as I've spoken to some of my team and I know exactly what I can offer and the time scale. But I will be starting to do webinars in the first week of the year. I just need to set that up as well, talking about the myths of midlife and how we can overcome the symptoms, and we'll take it from there. I may also be asking for some volunteers to take part in a small survey, because I just need to really get a better idea of what everybody wants, and so that I can deliver that. So I don't do anything yet, but when I've got my team up and running and I've got a little survey in place, I'll ask for some volunteers to come forward to fill that in, and maybe to have a conversation with a few of you as well. So I hope that that gives you a bit more comfort to know that there is some real help coming and a big light at the end of the tunnel, so that you don't need to go on suffering. You can reclaim your well-being, and you can feel probably better than you can remember feeling for so long. Because when your nutrient levels are in a low range, and when your estrogen levels have disappeared because your ovaries stop functioning, you're pretty much running on empty. And that's what you guys feel like at the moment. It sounds like that. You know, you've got the hot flushes, you've got the night sweats, the insomnia, You know, lots of you are talking about aching, joints, itching to the point of bleeding, dry vagina, memory loss, feeling really anxious when you wake up in the morning, or skin changes. I mean, all of those things can be addressed, and you don't need to have any of those as you move forward in your life if you have the knowledge and you know how to meet your needs. Obviously, if you've got a complicated medical history, then it may change a bit about what you should opt for, but we'll work that out as we go along. I think the thing is, between us, you've got the symptoms, I've got the knowledge on how to overcome those symptoms, and with lots of good communication between us, we'll work out, and maybe we'll be pioneers together, because we'll pioneer something that will work for lots of women around the world. And I did intend to take this platform eventually off Facebook and have Midlife Switch as a place where people can go and get reliable information and meet experts, get their questions answered on all aspects of health and well-being. So maybe together this is the beginning, the seeds of that moving forward. But if you've got questions, or anything you'd like to share with me, or any ideas you've got, or how I can make this journey good for you or better for the community, then please let me know. But I'm around, so just keep communicating. And in the meantime, I hope you all enjoy the new year, and that focus on dreaming about what you want the new year to be for you, and let's see if we can make those dreams come true together. So bye for now, and I'll catch up with you again on New Year's Day.